I bet most people thought this series didn't exist anymore, but don't worry, we're still here. Welcome back to Fakemon. Today's a bit of a special episode because I need to talk about something. If you remember last time, we actually did, the new Eevee evolutions, and this time I got something different. So, I thought that a good idea in a Pokemon game, and I'm not going to go over spoil too much for the story, that will come later, right? But in the idea for this game that I've got, there is one feature I thought that for the story, it would be something that's only been explored once in the Pokemon series, and that is space travel. And when I say I mean it's been included in games before, I only really mean partially. If you remember in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire's Delta episode, there was one feature, which you are seeing now, where you ride on Rayquaza's back into space, and you have a battle with Deoxys, as it's showing here. But the thing is, there has never been actually any real space travel other than that fight with Deoxys. So I was thinking that for this kind of game, this kind of setting where my Fakemon region exists, there would be one point in the story where you could actually fly into space on a rocket and fight Pokemon in space / on the moon. And also, the evil team in this game is actually themed around to space travel, so they actually use these kinds of Pokemon as well. But essentially the message I'm trying to relay here is the fact that the Pokemon I'm going to be talking about in today's episode of my Fakemon Dex is Pokemon that you can find in space, and there are technically 4 of them. We're going to start off with this one here. This is Yooefo, and no, not UFO as in the letters, it's spelled YOOEFO. So it's basically the pronunciation for how you say UFO, but it is a flying saucer Pokemon. It is literally just a flying saucer with a face. It is a robotic Pokemon, and it is a pure Steel type. It's not a Steel or Psychic type from what you might think, and no, I did not introduce a new type in the game just for these Pokemon. They are normally, like, Psychic, Rock, or Steel types. You will see. Anyway, so UFO actually inhabit themselves in outer space, but they're not from space directly. If you go into the description below and read its Pokedex, you'll see what I mean, but they're apparently Pokemon from the future, right? Kind of like, you know how people do time capsules and they send them, and then they bury them underground, hoping people will dig them up later? Yeah, it's kind of that thing, but vice versa in the past. Anyway, so Yooefo evolves into Asefo. Now, Asefo is actually a Pokemon that's inspired off of a really well-made robot I saw called Asimo. And what Asimo's main function is that he is a running robot used to test leg joints, and his main quirk is that he runs. Asefo does not have legs, he hovers in the air, but basically his overall design is meant to capture that of Asimo's. Now, if you look up Asimo here, I'm going to put a picture up now. As you can see, this is the Asimo robot, and it is a quite well-made robot. I did see it in a documentary once, and I'm a really big fan of it. And if you go back to looking at Asefo, you'll see that even though it lacks in the legs and the right body shape, it does take homage to Asimo, and its Pokedex description is quite funny. You can read that in the description, like I said. But anyway, the next Pokemon up is Hoshtar. Now, Hoshtar is basically a living meteor or living comet. They arrived on the moon and started to populate it when two of them maybe actually crash landed into it. I know it seems likely and it seems proper that these Pokemon should be genderless, but I don't know how they would spread if they were genderless. Like, it's normally only legendaries that are genderless, with the exception of a few others. But anyway, that's Hoshtar, and the last space Pokemon is Bustro. It's not Hoshtar's evolution; it's a completely different Pokemon. But it's Hoshtar, by the way, is a Fire and Rock type, and Bustro is a Psychic and Bug type, and it's basically Space Butterfree. They actually, though, are strong enough to fly to Earth, and if you look at them through a telescope, you can actually see, that you can't really find them on Earth, it's quite rare, but they can actually be there, because they can fly from the moon to Earth, but you can see them in the night sky through telescopes. But it's incredibly hard because if you see their wing pattern is like stars in the sky, so it's really, really difficult to see. And I think that for now is it. Hold on, let me check something. Yeah, that's it for now. So these are the space Pokemon, and I know you guys might be a bit confused about how much of a role they're going to play in the story. It's quite a big one when it comes to the evil team, but you will see then, once I've finished this Pokedex, I will show you all, and then I guess I'll see you then. Bye guys.